Hi, and welcome to Radio OPAC. It's a project of the Ohio Prison Arts Connection. Radio OPAC is a show exploring the arts and artists inside and outside of prison with performances and discussions. I'm your host today. My name is Wynn Brown. And this will be available on Facebook and on YouTube where we archive our shows. Just look for Ohio Prison Arts Connection. Today's theme, stories are medicine. And I want to start with a couple quotes. This one is from researcher Vanessa Boris. Storytelling forges connections among people, between people and ideas. Stories convey culture, history, values that unite people. And this quote from Maya Angelou, there is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you. So how did this group come together? This group was formed through the medical students at Ohio State with a project called House Call through Physicians for Human Rights, which is a national group. And the students wanted to know how to better help the health of women who are incarcerated. So we got with Dr. Warden Baldauf and 5 of the women at ORW, including Ms. Davis, the med students, medical staff at the ORW, and then we began our discussions. And I had been reading this book called The Beauty in Breaking. And I had mentioned to the group during House Call, this is such a great book, I think it'd be perfect for us. And then Ms. Munoz, who you will meet, said, well, I know the author. And we all went, what? And so she connected us with Dr. Harper, who is here, and we started 2 book club sessions, and Ms. Munoz did direct those. And so our House Call began a discussion with the actual New York Times bestselling author, and we are thrilled to have had this experience, and Dr. Harper is joining us today. So let's meet our guests. First, we have Dr. Michele Harper, who's an emergency room physician and author of the New York Times bestselling book, The Beauty in Breaking. So welcome, Dr. Harper.
Thank you. It is a pleasure and an honor to be with you all here today. Thank you.
We're very happy to see you here. And then we have Ms. Jessica Munoz, who is newly graduating from the Ohio State University with a focus on emergency medicine, headed to Loma Linda for her residency when she's not going to many, many weddings. And she is also a writer and working on her first book. Hello, Ms. Munoz.
Hello, thank you so much for having me here. I'm so happy to see everyone.
Welcome aboard. We also have Ms. Twyanna Davis, who is an artist, a writer, a member of our House Call group at ORW, and we call our ladies there the Med Squad. It's very good to see you, Ms. Davis.
Thank you so much for having me. I am honored to be here.
And we're honored to also have some of your art that we'll be showing throughout the interview and a reading from you at the end of the interview. So thank you for contributing those as well. And last but not least, she is little, but she is fierce in helping to bring all these programs to ORW is Warden Teri Baldauf, part of House Call. She was part of book club reading Dr. Harper's book. And her staff works tirelessly to provide women at ORW with opportunities to learn and transform. A special thank you to Ms. Clara Golding Kent, who is acting as stage manager there at ORW and is so helpful to me with all my projects. And we should know something, that 95% of people who are in prison come back into the community. So programs like these are helping people to re-enter society. And that's what we want to do. And that's what the Warden is doing at ORW. So welcome, Warden.
Thank you. Thank you for your kind words. And it's amazing to see all of you wonderful women.
It's a great group of people. And I know we'll have a wonderful discussion. So here's this quote, Dr. Harper, in your book, I just love, and it speaks to our stories, our medicine theme, when you wrote, as the spirit struggles for protection, it can become frozen, can splinter, shatter, quiver inside, not knowing how to heal. How do you think stories help us heal?
I've been meditating recently a lot on trauma and the impact of trauma in the body, and how we can get stuck in those stories. And it can prevent our growth, both personally and then on a larger level with collective trauma in society. And so I feel that one way, by reflecting on what we've been through and processing it so that we can communicate it, it can liberate us from those cycles. It can give us perspective on those stories. It can help us understand what part of that trauma is for us to manage and deal with, but then also what part of that shame is not ours. We don't own everything that happens to us. We own our response to it and how we move forward, but not the shame of it, not the childhood trauma we've been through, or in society with structural bigotry. We don't own that. And so in processing and retelling, it's a process of liberation where we can heal ourselves. Hopefully we can heal ourselves and then help each other heal and progress.
That's so excellent. You write a lot about, and you do speak about, poverty and profiling and sexism and stigma in the medical system. And with what's happening in the news right now, systemic criminalization of Black and brown bodies, what are we to do, not just in the medical system, but in society itself?
Right. And that is so important. And we see that criminalization disproportionately happens to people of color and women. We could go on. Disabled people, LGBTQ communities are disproportionately impacted by this, again, by this structural bigotry, white supremacy, and patriarchy, really. And I think that what is useful is for us to question our socialization so that we recognize the humanity in each of us. That, I talk about how beneath the skin, we are all the same. We are all made of the same stuff. This flesh, this bone, this blood is all the same. In our spirits and souls, we are all the same. And so for those fundamental reasons, we all deserve respect, dignity, a chance to live fulfilled lives. There's an example I discuss in the book where a young Black man is brought in by the police. He's with 4 police officers, which really seems like overkill for this relatively slender, small man. And they're bringing him in and they say he swallowed bags of drugs, and they brought him to us so we could get the drugs out. The man is competent. The man does not want to be evaluated medically. That is his right to decline any evaluation. Anybody can do that. And the resident, a young white woman I'm working with, wants to force this exam on him anyway and says that this is just what we do in the ER. This is what she's done with other attendings. And then she goes behind my back to invoke what she feels is a higher authority to see if she can override my order to discharge him in accordance with his wishes. Hospital ethics then tells her that actually I am correct. That would be illegal to do. So I do discharge him. And I tell that story for a couple of reasons. One, that his rights, they felt it was fine to disenfranchise him. That not only the police, but the people I worked with in the hospital, medical professionals, and also she didn't feel that I had the authority to make such a decision, even though I was the physician in charge of that department. Her teacher and trainer, supervisor that day, and in charge of the whole ER. So we have a lot to do to reconsider what has been thought to be standard procedures, acceptable procedures, a lot to do to consider who deserves respect and dignity, and to take a step back, question it and act from that place of integrity.
Yes, and these stories have gone untold for centuries. And so you are telling the stories. You are bringing all this to light. You're a doctor, but you are a writer. And so you're also an artist. Does being a writer and having the arts as part of your life make you a better doctor because of increased creative thinking?
It makes me just a better human. I swear to you, it makes me a better human. And also, I feel it makes me more sane and grounded and resilient, because this work is hard. I mean, when you're asking me, what is it we're to do? Having the courage to see situations honestly that can be so painful. I mean, there is a reason why many people may choose to wear blinders, because it's hard sometimes to see the truth of a situation. And then it's even harder once you see it to act. So I feel that being involved in the creative arts, not only is it my form of social action, one of them, my form of social engagement and action, but it keeps me grounded, much like yoga. It's this kind of meditative, spiritual practice that is life affirming and one of my wells of resilience.
How has it been for you to connect with ORW, the Med Squad, the Warden, Miss Davis, and the other women there?
It gives me so much hope. It really does. To see healing happen. I mean, first of all, what a privilege to hear and feel the wisdom of the women in Med Squad. And I mean that. And I feel like I'm in a very privileged position to hear it, but I shouldn't be. We should all hear it. Like this should be, their voices and art should be amplified everywhere. So it's a privilege to me, and I want to thank you for that. And then seeing medical professionals engaged in this work. I'm going to take some liberties because she's my mentee, Dr. Munoz. That gives me hope, because we need more. I call them warriors. We need more warriors in this work everywhere in the community, as healthcare providers, Warden Baldauf. Like, we all have to work together on this. So I'm grateful, because it gives me hope at times when, as you mentioned, everything that's happening now, when it can become overwhelming. This is very helpful to continue on the path.
And you have helped these women, and you're helping your mentee, Ms. Munoz. And I wanted to come to you too, Jessica. And when we first discussed the book, The Beauty in Breaking, and you said you were being advised by Dr. Harper, and we were delighted. How did you two connect?
So I actually, after I started reading the book, I realized she was, obviously very quickly on, I realized she was an emergency medicine doctor. And at that point, I'm like, this is so cool, because I'm going into emergency medicine and she's writing a book that I feel very connected with. So I was like, I'm going to shoot my shot and send her a message on Instagram. And I really was like, she might answer, she might not, she might be too busy. But to my surprise, she answered very quickly. And I was like, hey, I'm a med student. I'm reading your book, also going into EM. And she was just very open and willing to answer my questions about, my own writing, and how, she even shared the person who edited her work. And I got in touch with her. She started helping me edit my own writing. And it was just so nice to be, kind of met with this very easy access to someone who to me is doing great work and is in the front lines during the crazy chaos of the last couple of months, last year with the pandemic and all the social justice work that she's doing. So it was, I don't know, it was very heartwarming to see that she was so willing to answer my message among so many that I'm sure she gets all the time.
Yes. And Jessica, what is your book about? Is it about your trajectory with your profession and education? And I know that in your family and in your community, you're such a shining star because you've gone so far. And is that what your book is about?
So I actually started writing parts of the book when I took a year off from medical school. So I was dealing with a lot of grief. A lot of people in my family died, one because of suicide, and he was 15. It was really hard to study and to be able to handle, everything that life was throwing at me. And I kept telling myself, if I quit med school for a year, I'm a failure. Like I kept thinking that it was the worst thing I could do. And then there was just one moment when I was like, I'm so unhappy with my life right now. And I don't want to study. I want to be at home. I want to hug my brother, my sister, my mom. And so I decided to take that year off. And it was the best thing I ever did with my life. I needed it. God knew that I needed it. And he's like, this is what you're going to do, Jessica. So I took that year off to heal. I started writing because it helped me kind of just deal with my emotions. And I think putting it on paper kind of freed me a little bit from like what was tying me down. And so I started therapy as well, and just like really enjoying my life again and becoming Jessica, because I think I lost part of that during my first 2 years of med school because of all the mental health stuff, all the pressure to be great. And I was doing average at Ohio State, and to me that felt like it wasn't enough. Like I had to do better. And so after I took this year off and started to write, I came back like a new person. I was rejuvenated. I felt like even my spirituality grew from all the things I went through. And I came back willing to share my story and being vulnerable and sharing those stories with other med students that were also struggling. And I had people come to me, and there were 2 people who said that they were suicidal themselves. And so that to me was like a privilege to be like, wow, somebody came to me with this information, and I can be that person who can, try to get them help, or just be someone that they can reach out to when they need help. And so, I think it just made me be okay with vulnerability. Like I have no problem sharing my struggles anymore, because I think that's what helps people. And I think that it gives resilience as well. So now that someone has looked at my work and edited it, we went through my childhood, and we realized how there's a lot of trauma as well in my childhood that I didn't focus too much, and I'm still working on trying to figure out, the way things were and how that shaped me as a person. So now I'm including more into my book. So a little bit kind of like Dr. Harper's book, just like with, being the first person in my family my parents didn't even finish primary school. They were forced, to work in the fields and things like that in Mexico. And so it's interesting to kind of just see how everything has evolved from them not encouraging me to go to college. They wanted me to help pay bills. And I decided that wasn't my plan. And so now they're very, very supportive of my career in medicine. And so, yeah, I kind of talk about all of that in that book.
Well, they must be very proud of you. I'm very proud of you. And all of us are, and we all share so many common bonds. And one of the things I've talked to people about with the medical students and with the women at ORW is that it is different as far as incarceration, but medical students are often very isolated and under tremendous pressure to achieve and to do their work and to do everything involved in medical school. And so I think when the med students met the women at ORW, there were some common bonds there. And in addition to trauma, but in addition to being so focused in one area and not really being able to experience all of life. Jessica, when you first met the women of ORW and the warden and the medical staff there, what were your impressions of the women? Was it what you expected? Did you think it was going to be the TV show Orange is the New Black? What was it like for you?
I had like something that kind of really sparked my interest in like correctional medicine was I did this like service trip in Chicago a long time ago when I was an undergrad, and we had conversations with people with formerly incarcerated men, and they shared their stories about how hard it was to get out of that cycle. Like you leave, but then you don't have clean clothes to go to an interview, you don't have a car, your family is no longer supportive because of choices you've made. So I was just so interested in kind of developing a relationship where I could hear more of this, because I had never had that experience before. So when I was able to like I felt like I became friends with some of the women at the ORW. To me, that was so special. And I was just so excited to like listen to their stories. Like every time we had a house call, I was always like, I can't wait to hear what they're going to say today, what I'm going to learn. And I just thought it was so beautiful that like we could all just, hear more from them. And, I've already told the warden, like, I really wish I could be there in person. I'm still trying to go before I leave Ohio, but it was just so wonderful to hear all the stories and to just see how, like, especially those who like already left, like they're working in a hospital right now, or they're doing other things. To see that is just so special. And I'm sure it also gives them hope of like, okay, like, what am I going to do when I leave this place? Like kind of having that hope of the future and what, all the things that they can achieve and all the projects that they can work on while they're there. So it's been a great experience.
Thank you for being a huge part of it, and helping guide us too. I think with the women, the released women who are part of our group under the advisement of Annette Dominguez, it's been wonderful to see them also come back into society and deal with all they have to do in order to do that, which is its own trial and tribulation to do. But there at ORW is Miss Twyanna Davis, who's part of House Call. Miss Davis, what are the benefits to you? Miss Jessica was just talking about telling her story, taking her time off, the beauty and breaking of coming back, and Dr. Harper's title of her fabulous book. That title, it just sticks with me, The Beauty in Breaking. Not the misery, the beauty of being able to be reborn. How does your art affect you as far as your being able to come back to your true self?
It allows me to connect. When I first met Jessica and Dr. Harper, they always say that they love to hear what we have to say, but I always listen intently to what they have to say too, because even though we are in two physical different places, we're not really all that different. And I learned so much from them. And one of the things that I love to learn is how we are connected. And with me, art is just an expression of a feeling that I have, or, maybe, when I'm writing and I can't really get it out, there's nothing like being able to pull out a sheet of paper and just express myself in art, in a way that I can't necessarily express in words. So that's what one area of what my art does for me. So, yeah.
And your abilities and talents have been cultivated at ORW. And that doesn't happen everywhere in prison. You've been given opportunities to cultivate. What do you want to say about that, to have this outlet and for it to be encouraged and recognized and applauded?
Thank you. Well, actually, I think I discovered it by accident. I really didn't realize that I had the gift or, of writing or art until I was in the hospital. And, it came by accident, but, it is a way that I express myself, and it is very therapeutic in whatever form that it takes. And one of the things that I also want to say is, I consider myself an artist, and whether it is creating with my words or creating art with a picture, art express itself by whoever views it and whatever feeling that evokes as a result of seeing that picture. So not only with words or art or my life, I am an artist in its genuine form. And, one of the things that I love about my life is that this place, the staff here, they do give you so much room and encouragement to grow. And they don't necessarily shun you, but they just kind of help you through, whatever it is that we're going through to become a better person and to learn from not only the mistakes that we make, but also the successes that we have, and to kind of push into, who we are as people.
Yes, and I know we're going to talk to Warden Baldauf about how she does this where other places perhaps cannot do it. But I wanted to see with Miss Jessica and with Dr. Harper, if you might have a question about Miss Davis's art or her work or her life there at ORW. I want to open that up to you. Dr. Harper, would you like to begin? Do you have or a comment about Miss Davis and her involvement with us?
I'm just so glad that this program is happening from everything that I hear about. I really am. And that this has been a way to just getting back home to yourself and expressing yourself in ways that are liberating for you and other people. So I'm grateful for that. And I'm just so interested in hearing more about your process. And also I feel like, I know we say, some places can't do that. I think that every prison system can, if they want to.
They can.
If they want. And I just feel that should be the mentality, truthfully. Like, this is how change happens. And I hope that, so that people can develop themselves and heal in every institution. Like, I want there to be structural liberation everywhere, in schools and prisons. I want it to be a case where we don't have so many prisons, not so many people are incarcerated, and they have the opportunities before getting there, or if they're there, or outside of there. So I feel like, I know I'm going off a little bit because I get very excited about this, but I feel like I'm so excited about this conversation because it's nice when we can reimagine what is possible and then put it into action and demonstrate what really is possible. And it may be things we've never seen before, and we can just do so much more and better, that it's truly possible, again, should we choose it.
Yes, thank you. And Miss Jessica, what do you have to say or ask of Miss Davis with her art or her daily living at ORW and the opportunities there?
I was just wondering if you could share, like, obviously I've never been there, and like, if there's something that you would want the world to know about ORW, or what. I know you mentioned that the staff there is very welcoming, and they really encourage you, but if there's anything else that you kind of just want to share with us that maybe we haven't been able to witness because we can't be there, or we're not part of that unique community, that you would like to share with us.
Absolutely. Well, I don't recommend anybody commit a crime to come to prison, so don't misunderstand. However, it is a choice that we make, and I believe that prison can be anywhere, because even though you are there in the free world, you can be in a prison just as much as we are physically in a prison. And even though that I am physically in a prison, mentally and spiritually, it doesn't feel like I'm incarcerated at all. It actually feels like I've never been more freer in my life than I have been right now. And it's all because of the choices that I make to become a better person. We all have choices to make, to either look at our trauma and deal with the trauma, or choose not to and continue the cycle of destruction. And so many times I see a lot of the women that I know here that choose that. But also there is a group of women here that are searching and looking for an outlet to become someone different, but they don't know how. And so that is one of the reasons why, I also encourage them to write or journal or draw or just do something else different than what they've normally been doing, to continue to strive after that person who they are searching for on the inside. And I don't know. It just all starts with, you know, the personal decision to want to change. That's one of my biggest things that's really transformed my life, is that, you know, I knew that who I was and who I am, they wasn't really matching up. And so I had to do the work to change that so that they both line up, so that I can become my true authentic self. And I don't necessarily know if I'm there yet, but I do believe that I'm on the right path to become who I am created to be.
That was wonderful. And one of the, and Dr. Harper?
I just had a couple questions, and you know, I agree with Miss Davis also that we are all on our way, and it's like a lifelong journey. Couple questions. One about training, like, is there a way for Miss Davis, is there a way, if she wanted to, or if other people wanted to, for them to help mentor other women? And then for the warden, again, along the lines of training, do you all do any training with other prison systems, or, you know, how to spread this kind of work so that the opportunities are in other institutions as well?
So as far as mentor, one of the things, I just kind of just stalk Miss Baldauf and Miss Golden, and just, they're my mentors and they just don't know it. And but as far as like the women here, honestly, it's kind of like a prison thing, you know, because it's like the ones who are seeking and searching for something different, they watch the ones that are doing something different. And so, and then they try to come up under them and say, hey, what are you doing? And then, you know, and then we begin to a mentorship that way. So that is one way. And I know that there are a lot of groups that they have here, well, before COVID, that where we could have a mentor, like Miss Wynn Brown's group, Ladies for Success. But when all of the, you know, the day is gone, the 9 to 5 is gone, from like 5 to 5, we are here to mentor each other. So if
Yes.
they want it.
Yes, and then to Warden Baldauf, because when we're talking about why don't all the prisons do this, I have seen it takes a champion. And if there is a champion at the prison to say, yeah, we can do that. It takes a little bit of doing, but we can do that. And Warden Baldauf is that person. So what do you have to say about the possibilities and opportunities that you help create?
Well, to answer the question, first of all, thank you. And to answer the question, this is my third facility that I've worked at. And my first facility was mostly, you know, correctional practices. The second facility, which was Marion Correctional, I learned more about programming and how it impacts a person, and even art, and it's, you know, for our well-being. And then coming here and having the opportunity to work with these incredible women, it took me a while to settle in. I thought, I'm a female, I've got this. And honestly, it took me a while to settle in, and it took me time to meet women like Miss Davis. But it's easy to say yes around here. Most things are doable as far as programming opportunities, because I believe that they will change if we offer them the change agent. And so anything that we can do, as far as other institutions, there are many institutions that do a lot of programming also. I don't know if they have done something this wonderful working with the Med Squad, but I sure do tell them every time I see them that, hey, we had this opportunity. And that is one thing. It's my responsibility to provide a safe environment, but also ensure that they are healthier when they leave than when they come in. And medical and mental health plays a large part in that. but, you know, being an artist, it's a coping mechanism to, you know, be an artist and work on that mental health and, you know, medical condition. But just recently, we had the opportunity, a 2-week training for many of our women who were going to be peer mentors to some women in mental health and recovery services. So we're really excited to see how that turns out. And they went through a 2-week training. So, and it's the women who are doing well in recovery services and doing well with their mental health status. So we are really excited to see how that impacts our institution positively.
Warden, you have a very, very difficult job, and increasingly difficult in this society that we live in, very complex issues that we're dealing with. When you meet with a person like Miss Davis and you see the beautiful work that she does, produces, you hear how articulate, intelligent, and wonderful she is. How does that make you feel in your profession?
It's amazing. And she thinks that she stalks us. I find her in the art studio often, don't I? And I bother her. You know, for me, I'm an adult coloring book kind of artist and maybe yoga and some other things. But I do remember the first time she said, "I am an artist." And she walked out our front door. She had sold a piece of her beautiful art. And she was doing the fist pump and I'm an artist. And I will never forget that. Wherever Miss Davis is someday, we are going to get together in the community and talk about that day. So it's easy to lift people up. This isn't where most people want to be, but I do. And we have so much to offer, and people probably don't know that in the community, and that's our position. That's why we're doing this. That's why we're doing the peer mentoring. That drives myself and Miss Golding Kent and many of our other staff. We're driven to hopefully make some change with the women, listen a lot, and they're successful in the community and they come back in and share their struggles. It may not have been easy, but they're very honest with the women. So we're fortunate I'm fortunate to work with women.
Well, you're doing such important work. And as Dr. Harper said, you know, and we will be talking at a conference about this work with the medical community, a national conference, and the more of that we can do with Warden Baldauf and teaching others how this is done. And because some people don't understand that it's not just busy work to do art or these things, it's actually a healing process. And from the breaking comes this beauty, and then we transform our lives. I do want to close with Miss Davis reading her piece to us as our final bit of reflection, if you would, Miss Davis.
Yes, it is called The Beginning Pieces of Me. After doing 15 years in prison and trying to understand my place, where did I belong, both inside and outside of the fence? I've come to realize that it's within myself where the most treasure lies. This revelation awakened within me 8 years into my sentence when I was stretched out across a hospital bed at OSU fighting for my life. Physically drained, emotionally and spiritually bankrupt, I was tired. Listening to the hissing and beeping rhythm of the machines fighting for me, I heard a voice. It's hard to explain, but it's like this voice was coming from inside me. I could hear it as clear as you can hear me talking to you now. It said, if you seek to understand the whole universe, you will understand nothing at all. But if you seek only to understand yourself, you will understand the whole universe. That revelation shook me to my core because my whole life I'd been trying to piece together a childhood riddled in trauma that would seep both into my adolescence and adulthood years. In fact, the earliest memory I have is right in the middle of trauma. At the age of 4, I woke up to my parents yelling and screaming. Glass was being shattered against the wall. Then shortly after, I watched my father being escorted in handcuffs into a police cruiser. Not knowing what to do with this memory, along with so many others, as I grew, I compartmentalized them and neatly tucked them away. However, at that present moment, every painful memory I'd hidden was resurfacing. I had no idea at the time that my Heavenly Father had stretched the canvas of my life and was painting it using the ashes of my suffering. Creative art or creative writing, art, and speaking to others has been the avenue for which I express some of my most deepest feelings. I realized that when I help someone else understand a truth that I've been given, I help unlock the burden of a broken heart that I've carried around for all those years. That, to me, is freedom. And that is why I share so freely. I believe that stories or truths are how we connect to each other, how we learn from one another. It's the glue that keeps us connected. It's how I can share a part of myself that was once broken and help to heal the broken part of someone else so that we can become whole together.
Thank you so much for that. And part of the beauty in breaking is that we can come together and we can all grow together and support each other and lead each other or follow each other depending on our role that day. But I appreciate every single one of you for joining us today. Thank you so, so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing. I just want to add
Thank you.
something. I think especially with like everything that's going on, like hearing like, you know, stories like this just, you know, kind of like what Dr. Harper was saying, like it gives me hope, you know, that like things like this are happening and now you have your release date and I'm really excited. June 8th, you said, right?
Yes, June the 8th.
We'll have a party, virtual party.
No, I'll probably need some help learning how to do the Zoom and everything, but yes.
Miss Davis, if I can learn it, you can learn it. I assure you. I assure you.
And
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Harper.
Oh, I just wanted to make sure I said, Miss Davis, thank you for sharing that. I was near tears. It is lyrical and gorgeous. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you, Warden, for helping us all to connect. We appreciate you.
It's our
All
pleasure.
right. Until next time with Radio OPAC. We'll see you then.
I believe somehow we're gonna make it now. Dreams of hate are turning into dreams of love. We're turning hate to love. I believe we know we have to let the love light show. Oh yeah, yes. I believe somehow we're gonna make it now. You and we must overcome what keeps us torn apart, because the road to unity is not that far away. Everybody is the same. From the mind of God we came. We have got the power